This article showcases more than half the reason I'm here on social media. I'm not here for myself. I'm here for everyone else on this planet. This article has a massive amount of information, and it explains the real world that we are living in. Now, if you know me, you know I'm anti-nuclear, and that I believe every nuclear reactor on the planet should be shut down immediately, without question. So we're going to go ahead and read this article, and hopefully you understand where my stance is from this article itself. This is from Beyond Nuclear International, and is titled Classified: The Secret Radiation Files. Health Physicists Fear Lawsuits More Than Nuclear Accidents by Kate Brown. In 1987, a year after the Chernobyl accident, the U.S. Health Physics Society met in Columbia, Maryland. Health physicists are scientists who are responsible for radiological protection under nuclear power plants, nuclear weapon plants, and hospitals. They are called on in cases of nuclear accidents. The conference's keynote speaker came from the Department of Energy. The title of his talk drew a sports analogy: radiation, the offense and the defense, switching metaphors to geopolitics. The speaker announced to the hall of nuclear professionals that his talk amounted to the party line. The biggest threat to nuclear industries, he told the gathered professionals, was not more disasters like Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island, but lawsuits. After the address, lawyers from the Department of Justice met in the breakout groups with health physicists to prepare them to serve as expert witnesses against claimants suing the U.S. government for alleged health problems due to exposure from radioactivity issued in the production and testing of nuclear weapons during the Cold War. That's right, the DOE and the DOJ are preparing private citizens to defend the U.S. government and its corporate contractors as they ostensibly served as objective scientific experts in U.S. courts. Health physics is an extremely important field for our everyday lives. Health physicists set standards for radiation protection and evaluate damage after nuclear emergencies. They determine where radiologists set the dial for CT scans and x-rays. They calculate how radioactive our food can be, and our food is often radioactive, and determine acceptable levels of radiation in our workplaces, environment, bodies of water, and air. Despite its importance, as it is practiced inside university labs and government organizations, health physics is far from an independent field engaged in objective, open-ended pursuit of knowledge. Compromise science. The field of health physics emerged inside the Manhattan Project, along with the development of the world's first nuclear bombs, of which I showcase in my video, Bread from War. Okay? For the past 75 years, the vast majority of health physicists have been employed in national nuclear agencies or in universities with research underwritten by national nuclear agencies. As much as we in the academy like to make distinctions between apolitical academic research and politicized paid research outside the academy, during the Cold War, those distinctions hardly made sense. From the end of World War II until 1970s, federal grants paid for 70% of universities' research. The largest federal donors were the Department of Defense, the U.S. Atomic Energy Agency, and a dozen federal security agencies. Historian Peter Gallison estimated in 2004 that the volume of classified research surpassed open literature in American libraries by 5 to 10 times. Put another way, for every article published by American academics in open journals, 5 to 10 articles were filed in sealed repositories available only to the 4 million Americans with security clearances. Often, the same researchers penned both open and classified works. Health physicists benefited from the largesse of the Pentagon and the Atomic Energy Commission, which produced nuclear weapons for U.S. arsenals. Correspondingly, the field suffered from the closed circle of knowledge that has had a major impact in our abilities to assess and respond to both nuclear emergencies and quotidian radioactive contamination. Tracking the production of knowledge in the field of health physics shows how the effective reunification of facts has played a major role in this branch of science. More generally, it demonstrates how the boundary between open and classified research is critical yet rarely acknowledged. The response of international health physicists to the Chernobyl disaster, which occurred in Soviet Ukraine in April of 1986, shows heavily politicized science in action. History reveals that the official federally sponsored cultivation of alternative facts is not new but has deep roots in the 20th century. Sorry. And I've showcased this in what's called Nuclear Controversies. It was a film done by and it was done during the 2001 Kiev symposium on Chernobyl. There you will see the corruption unfold on film. Chernobyl came at an unfortunate time for nuclear professionals. This is important. As the Cold War creaked to an end, lawsuits abounded. In the 1980s, Marshall Islanders, their homes blasted in nuclear tests, their bodies subjected to classified medical studies by scientists contracted by the Atomic Energy Agency, went to court. In Utah and Nevada, those who lived downwind from the Nevada test site were lining up for lawsuits. Meanwhile, the Metropolitan Edison Company in Pennsylvania faced lawsuits from plaintiffs living near the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant, which suffered a partial meltdown in 1979. In the late 1980s, reporters and congressional investigators began to inquire into U.S. government agencies' wide-scale engagement in human radiation experiments, which included exposed tens of thousands of soldiers to nuclear blasts. They also injected people with plutonium. Mentally handicapped people, pregnant people, people had no clue it was occurring. Yes, our government did this. These legal actions and investigations constituted an existential threat for nuclear industries, civilian and military. Chernobyl cast into doubt industry statements that nuclear energy is safer than coal, than flying, than living in high altitude Denver. If another nuclear accident were to occur, UN International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA head Hans Blix told the IAEA Board of Governors a few weeks after Chernobyl explosions, "I fear the general public will no longer believe any contention that the risk of a severe accident was so small as to be almost negligible." Because radioactivity is insensible, society relies on scientists and their technologies to count ionizing radiation and analyze its effects on biological organisms. That's a very important sentence. In 1986, the 3 decades old lifespan study of Japanese bomb survivors served in the West as the gold standard for radiation exposure. It became the chief referent in lawsuits over health damage from radioactive contaminants. The lifespan study started in 1950. In subsequent decades, American and Japanese scientists followed bomb survivors and their offspring, looking for possible health effects from exposure to bomb blasts. By 1986, the group had detected a significant increase in a handful of cancers and, surprisingly, no birth defects, though geneticists had expected them.